So, lads, today we watched the Connecticut Sun versus the Indiana Fever. And obviously, it's a game that was kind of like taken over almost by other things. Like, I've got so many other videos that I'm recording today and just have them released tomorrow. Caitlin Clark talking to the referees breakdown, Leah Boston. But that's for tomorrow. All those type of videos are for tomorrow. Today, we're going to talk purely about the basketball part of it. We're going to be talking about the basketball. We're going to be talking about what exactly the Connecticut Sun did initially to slow down Caitlin Clark and whether or not their tactics worked or whether a lot of it was just Caitlin Clark being poor. I think it was a bit of both. And either way, what they did not work in the fourth quarter. And I feel like Stephanie White made a really good call. I think she made a really, really good call calling a timeout when Layla Lacan hacked Caitlin Clark. So, this was what the tactic was early on. And it was full court pressing Caitlin Clark with 3 different defenders. They put JC Sheldon, Layla Lacan, and Sanaya Rivers all full court pressing JC Sheldon. Sorry, not JC Sheldon, Caitlin Clark. Caitlin Clark had the most success on Sheldon. Caitlin Clark had 4 assists in the first quarter on Sheldon. There was nothing really that Sheldon could do. Like, she was burning JC. She was getting assists. She had 4 assists, in the first 3.5 minutes on JC Sheldon. And Caitlin only ended the game with 7 assists. And obviously, Caitlin was plus 21. Their goal was to stop Caitlin. They blitzed her off every screen. They guarded her 94 feet. And I got to give credit to especially Layla Lacan. I think Layla Lacan did the best job on her, but they just hacked her. They played her full court and they played her physical. Whereas the last time these played, they had JC on her full court. They didn't play her physical. They did not play her physical. Caitlin was physically as imposing as JC Sheldon, but Layla Lacan, especially the age that she is, like, Layla Lacan is born in 2004. She's born in 2004. She is the youngest player in the league getting real minutes. She's born in 2004. If she was American, she would be going into her junior or her senior season of college. She would possibly be going into her junior year of college. Like, what, I just want to see Hannah Hidalgo. So I think Hannah Hidalgo was 04, is she? No, she's February 2005. I'm trying to think what other sophomores there are. Madison Booker. Is she 04 or 05? No, she's 05. But there's definitely players that are born that same year. They're going into their junior year of college, of high school. Like, she is 3 years young, or junior year of college. She's 3 years younger than Hailey Van Lith, and she full court pressed her. Sanaya Rivers full court pressed her. Sanaya Rivers is a dog on defense. Like, the fact that the Fever could have got her with 8, they wouldn't have taken her at 8, but they could have got her at 8, is pretty big as well. But I will say, Caitlin Clark was just missing. You could see early on in the game, she was struggling with something. Like, there are clips of her earlier on prior to her just taking over that she's grabbing her groin. Like, it's something that she did tweak early in the game and just kept playing. But all I got to say is that their tactic did not work late in the game. It didn't work late in the game. Caitlin Clark came into that game late on, and in 28 minutes, Caitlin Clark had 14, 7, and 8. Let's be real. If Caitlin Clark had played 35, she's probably getting a triple-double. And if it wasn't for the fact that Caitlin was hurt, and that Caitlin, while she had 4 assists in 4 minutes, was taken off after 4.5 minutes of the first quarter. She was taken off right away after that. Like, she could have very easily had it. For the Caitlin's turnovers, I think 3 of them were just good defensive plays. I think Lacan had a good defensive play. Sanaya Rivers stripped her. Olivia Nelson-Ododa was a clean steal, but, like, Caitlin was fouled about 4 times up to that point in the defense. And they just had athletic bodies. Like, I talked about this in my pregame, that what the Indiana Fever had was, or what the Connecticut Sun had, was a lot of athletic bodies to throw at Caitlin Clark, and that's what they did. However, the problem with that is you heard Tina Charles. Coming out there and saying that we're trying to stop the head of the snake. Like, Caitlin's the head of the snake. We're stopping Caitlin. And that's all they cared about. All they cared about was stopping Caitlin Clark. If you watch this game back, they were fully willing to let Kelsey Mitchell and Natasha Howard do whatever they wanted. They were happy for them to do whatever they wanted. They did not want Aaliyah Boston and Caitlin Clark dominating on the inside. They were allowing Aaliyah Boston make those high lows to a Natasha Howard every possession. They were allowing them to make those passes to Kelsey Mitchell. It was the two of them, and especially Caitlin. And you can see it here in the plus 21. The Fever used Caitlin's gravity better today than I'd seen them. Because it was a lot of Caitlin to Aaliyah to somebody, layup. It was an awful lot of that. An awful lot of a couple of passes, hockey assists for Caitlin. And I thought they used Caitlin's gravity extremely, extremely well. I do feel like they did. I think Natasha Howard, being a weak side cutter, which I think this was her best game for weak side cutting in this game, but the Sun were willing to give that up. And I think a lot of people, when they watch basketball, when they watch these games, especially like me when I watch it, like I don't take notes on these games. When I watch games that I'm not live on stream, I take notes in a lot of them. If you hear me on breakdowns, why a lot of the time my breakdown is a lot less concise. It's not less concise, a lot less like accurate. When I'm just giving my opinion on a game, then like it is, say if I've watched a full game and I'm talking about it. And a big reason is because I take a lot of notes. I take a lot of notes on games throughout the game when I'm watching. However, I don't really do it with Fever games because obviously I'm watching it live. But one thing that I did really know, one thing you have to know if you're looking at ball is professional ball is about pick your poison. You go out there with a tactic and you try to have whatever your tactic is, you try to win the game. And you can see here, the Indiana Fever only scored 85 points. It was an 8-point game. And this is the 6th seed versus a team that's won 3 games. The last time these two teams played was a 20-point game. And Marina Mabry played. Yeah, and Marina Mabry played, because let's say she knocked Caitlin Clark on her ass. They had Marina Mabry. This Connecticut Sun team are becoming a really difficult out. And this is where you see the good coaching of Rashid Mazian. This team doesn't have very much talent on offense. They don't. Like Bria Hartley sometimes can hit shots. Lacan had a good game, and Tina Charles is Tina Charles. She just lets it fly. But this is a team that does not have that much firepower. But what Rashid Mazian's done, and you can tell just how he's playing, is this team is playing tactically. This team, they play, in my opinion, they play super intelligent defense. They play super tough defense. He constantly rotates bodies. He constantly throws different looks. And the reality is that any offense that ended in a shot for either of these two players, and with these two players not having the ball in their hands and making the decision, was a success. And a lot of the times, even them passing it to some of their scorers was a success. They were willing to let Natasha Howard and Kelsey Mitchell beat them. And then down the stretch, they still could not stop Caitlin Clark. It was Caitlin who took over down the stretch. And I felt like it was a really good coaching game. I felt like it was a really good defensive game all around. And then I just think that, I think one of the big problems, one of the really, really big problems with how, the whole defense was that the Connecticut Sun didn't change how they played defense. It was just in the last 4 minutes of that game, the game got ref differently. So the Indiana Fever were basically, when Caitlin came on that fourth quarter, and there was a possession where Lacan fouled her about 4 times. Lacan fouled her about 3 or 4 times, and nothing was called. Then Stephanie White burned the timeout just to complain to the refs, and suddenly Sanaya Rivers kind of knocks Caitlin out of bounds, and you're like, earlier on in the third quarter, I think she got knocked out of bounds as well, and nothing got called. This time as a foul. Suddenly she's on the free throw line. Bang, bang. She picks up another foul where she kind of drives into the basket and she gets hit. Bang, bang. Those free throws. Then she ends up getting a 3-point shot. Well, I think the 3-point shot before the free throws. She ends up getting a really, really nice drive-in kind of floater. It was tough. Caitlin took a shot you wanted her to take, which is the mid-range, and then you put her on the line for 2 free throws just due to the referees changing how they called the game. And that really did change it. Like, I think if had the referees ref the entire game like they did, I think Connecticut Sun's tactic wouldn't have worked by just playing physical full court defense. However, the way the referees ref this game through 3 quarters allowed the Connecticut Sun to just try rough up Caitlin Clark. However, in the fourth quarter, they didn't. The referees ref this like it was a proper basketball game, and all of a sudden it's after that one timeout, and all of a sudden it's a Caitlin Clark takeover. And to be fair, she did hit the three before that. But at the end of the day, look, it was a great fourth quarter from Caitlin, and I think sometimes good defense, good defensive tactics just gets trumped by better offense. I think that's what happened here.